Welcome to the Intentional Randomness podcast with your host, Omobabala Adeteji, aka Bobby. On this show, we're intentional about everything. Hello, everyone. So, on the last episode, we were having that conversation with Jumoke and Sukky. We had such a good time, and we continued talking about other aspects of relationships and things to watch out for. So today's episode is the concluding part of last time's conversation. I hope you enjoy. I feel like there's so many things from that show that I was just like, oh my goodness, these are issues, these are topics, these are things, because I'm looking at single people and I'm like, how are they, like, so it feels, I don't know, it feels like there's so many mistakes that people are making, or so many things that have become less clear, before things were very clear. You do this, you do that. And everything was just, everybody knew what to do, how to do it. But now, because we have so many options, we're so independent, everybody has a voice, everything has become so confusing, I think.
Yeah, I think it all boils down to when you're going to a relationship, what exactly do you want from that relationship? It has to be, apart from expecting the person, the guy or the lady, to define the relationship, you yourself need to be able to define the relationship you want to go into yourself, so that you understand, okay, this is why I chose this, I'm choosing this person because of A, B, C, D, E. Okay, these are the things, these are my goals, these are the things I want from this relationship, and these are the things I'm happy to give in this relationship. Because I think I was guilty of that as well, because you just find out that you just walk blindly into relationship without having I think now, looking back, it's easier to reflect. But or watching that show, anybody could have made that mistake in code. Obviously, I'm not going to leave with a guy. that one.
3 years. 3 years. It's not 6 months. 3 years.
That's definitely a deal breaker. But I think when you're in your 20s, it's ideally, from talking from personal experience, there's this, you finished school, you're working, the next is relationship. But actually, is it because it's the next thing, or is it because of what you really want? Because at times you really need to find yourself, find your own identity, to be able to now know, okay, this is the kind of person I would like to share my life with.
I always say date yourself first. Date yourself before you date anybody.
It's the next thing. So I'm available. When I hear this word, single and searching, or single and available, I just laugh in my mind now. But I've been in that era as well, like, we're single and searching, something like that. But now looking back, I felt that there's some things I could have done in my... It's not like I married quite young. I mean, married at 27, when I was 27. But the reality is, probably now looking back, there's some things I should have done, I could have done to actually, know more about myself. Now in my 30s, I realized that I'm more assertive about what I really want.
Yes.
So now, even apart from just marital relationship, professional relationship, business relationship, friendship, I'm very, very now very picky. People that come into my space. So possibly, probably if I marry in my 30s, probably I'll be very more, very, very, I don't know how to use the word really.
But isn't that also a little bit problematic though? Because that's what they say, that the older people get, the harder it is for them to pick a partner, because now they're more picky. Now they're more like, that doesn't work for me. That doesn't work for me.
I was having the same discussion with a couple of friends like last week, I think. Like, if I knew, or how do I say that? If I knew what I know now, when I got married, I think I would have waited as well. Because I feel like in my 30s now, I, like Jumoke say, I know who I am. I'm comfortable in my skin. I can't say that while I was in my 20s. I am comfortable in who I am. And I don't think it would have made me more picky. It would just make me more confident in that, okay, this is what I'm doing, this is my goals, 5-year goals, this is my plan. When I was 23, I can't tell you what my 5-year plan was.
Exactly. Same here.
But, okay. So it's not really about the age then. It's about what you like, if you know yourself. Because you can meet a 23-year-old that already knows what she's about, what he's about, what he wants to do. So it's about that having...
myself.
Okay.
In my comfortable state right now, I would have waited till I was like at least 30, because I thought I think that when I clocked 30, I was like, oh wow, I like who I am. Oh my goodness.
Oh, did you feel like that as well? I did.
Yes. I'm like, wow, I like myself. I didn't know I was this awesome.
That's what 30 does to you. I don't know, but
interesting. I didn't know I was this awesome. That's just like the caption for this.
I was going with the flow. I was just, But when it was like, see, when I clocked 30, I'm like, yes, this is who I am. This is where I'm going. This is the plan I have for myself. This is the plan I have with my husband. This is the plan I have for the family. I can tell you my own plan, not attached to my husband's plan. I feel like in my 20s, when I got married, it was like, this is
you went with the plan.
Exactly.
Okay, I get that.
Now I'm more comfortable with myself. I am like, oh, I am going places. This is what I'm doing. I'm comfortable in my skin. I'm not
interesting. Interesting. I'm not sure. I wouldn't say I had the same experience, but I recognize that maybe because I moved out of my parents' house early. I kind of like jumped. I went through that whole course of knowing yourself faster, because like I didn't have maybe other people to rely on right from when I was 17. So already from that time you start discovering yourself, you know what you're about and all of that. But one thing that I wanted to raise from what you're just saying, Sukky, is the fact that we do change in relationships. How do you think our spouses or our whatever cope with that? Because so let's say your husband married that person that was just happy to go along with his plans and your plan as a family, and now you're beginning to discover your individual self more. I wouldn't say you didn't know all of that before, but you're getting your, like, that all change too is something that you have to handle in a relationship, because I think it came up in the show as well, like, oh, before you were like this and now you're like this whole thing that human beings were dynamic. Maybe when you're 40, you'd be like, oh, I wish I was 40 before I got married, because you would have discovered something else about. And I think relationships just have to learn to manage the dynamics of change, because we're going to change.
It comes back to conversations, like having proper discussions, like sitting down and saying, okay, this is what I am doing. For the next 3 years, I want to study. And I want to study because this, and this, and this. This is my plan. And then your husband or your spouse can then say, oh, okay, why, pros and cons. Okay, this is how I can support you. I don't want to support you. This is what I can do. It is about having conversations.
Yeah.
Since you are comfortable in yourself, you know who you are, you know where you're going. It shouldn't be a problem to sit the other person down and say, this is what I want to do. I wouldn't have been able to do that even though you left the house at 17. I left my parents at 20, 21, 22. So I had like 8 years of being by myself to discover myself. I still didn't discover myself enough, or maybe I was on a journey and then discovered this much later. But
it is a journey.
Yes, it's about discussions. If you start feeling somehow in your spirit, and if you start having this discussion with yourself, this conversation with yourself, the next thing you're supposed to, even if it's not properly formed in your mind, I sit my husband down and say, okay, this is what I am thinking now. Right now, at this moment, I just want you to listen, not for you to say anything back. Maybe in another 1 or 2 months I can in another 1 or 2 months, the idea is properly formed in my head, and I can say, okay, what we talked about, this is what I have come up with. What do you think? So that gives you time to reflect as
then
well.
It feels like the ladies, we have our midlife insurance. I don't want to say midlife crisis around that 30, 35. Men wait until they're 40 and then they get into some kind of like rediscovery. But I think women get it earlier. You're 30, you're like, yeah, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think for me, because I lived with my mom till I got married, basically. I think just 6 months before getting married, that's when I moved out. But the reality is that probably that affected my thinking, because like Sukky said, there's always our plan, family plans, family goals. So I'd never had the opportunity to feel like, okay, this is who is Olajumoke? What is Olajumoke's goal? Although you say those things like you think you know it, but in the real fact of it, when you come to the nitty gritty, you don't really have a plan. You don't really have goals, even though you have a career and people see you working, you're earning. And there's this assumption as well, isn't it, in African mentality, that the moment you finish school and you're working, there's this sense of maturity. You're already matured. But there's some things that you probably don't. You're not.
You have to grow into them.
Experience. You have to go through life before you understand that. And I think that didn't happen to me until I actually got married, when I've actually now been able to manage my finances, being able to manage home, being able to manage. So it's kind of like competing priorities. Like, okay, so by the time I was 30, I already had 2 children, or married, and I was like, oh my God, I'm drowning here. What's going on? And it just around that time I started asking myself the question, so who am I? Okay, apart from being a mother, apart from being a daughter, apart from being a wife, okay, who is Olajumoke now? Now I've done everything I'm asked. I've married, I've got kids, I've done everything. So I don't owe anybody any explanation anymore. So who am I? And so at that point I felt like, okay, what are actually my passions, and what do I really want to do? If I die today, what do I want people to know, that this is what Jumoke talks about all the time, and this is what she's done about it. So and I think, of course, like Babola said, some people will find it probably in marriage or before marriage or after, or even but the thing is, you still have to find yourself, because regardless of wherever you are in your relationship trajectory, wherever, if you don't do that, there's a way that affects everybody around you. Because
isn't it?
You still have to find yourself. And the worst part is, it's better you find yourself even before you get to those years whereby you can't, like for example, you're just realizing this when you're already 70 or 80, then what's more to life? That's why some people are quite, you call them the sad, grumpy old man or woman, because they're living a life of regrets, because they felt like now there's this sense of entitlement, like I've sacrificed it, so you hold me this, well if not for this,
if we go into that one, that's a whole lot of, like, especially in some settings, let's say, I don't know, maybe thought like developing countries, a lot of times parents and all of these people that can have expectations of their children, just because I took care of you, just because these, and like, oh, I took care of you, I sacrificed, like, but I don't know if I asked you to do that. A child can feel like, I don't know, mommy, if I ask you to do that. You should have followed your dream, and we'll not be here.
And that's why some of these millennials and Gen Zs are very, very like, when parents are saying, you have to do that, like, but we didn't ask you to do that. But mom, but that's the thing, isn't it? I always say this, that women, don't lose your life because of kids, because I tell you, this generation we are raising, they're not as how would I say it? I wouldn't say they're selfish, but let's be realistic. The standard of living is getting higher and higher and higher every day. So you can't expect that when you retire, these children should have like a direct debit to your account. It might not work. You have to start planning your pension right now, your 30s, because the reality is it might not work. So and that's one of the things I found out now, that people are retiring poor. There's this mentality, if I retire, then there's like this cash that by the time they give you that lump sum in code, the standard of living is really high that you can't even, it doesn't match up. You still have bills to pay. Whether you're retired or not, you still have to pay bills.
Or if you're in an economy that is not doing well, and even if your kids wanted to help you, they've not even helped themselves, so they can't even they can't sponsor you. So we should live our lives, live your dreams, so that you don't become that old grumpy.
Yes.
Oh my God. But it's interesting. I think irrespective of if you discovered yourself early or late, everybody should do a reevaluation at least every 5 years. Where am I? What do I want to do next?
I would just say 5 years, but sorry. I think every
year.
Every year. Even probably your birthday, ask yourself, okay, I was 38 last year, I'm 39, what have I achieved in the last 1 year? Have I actually moved a step closer to my dream and purpose. Because the reality is, people are dying every day. I'm sorry to say that, but that's the reality.
There comes our palliative nurse.
Well, it's okay. Look at these people that people are dying. Just like, look at what happened with COVID. If you said, if probably your next 5-year review is like 2023 and COVID hits you in 2020. I think it should be every year, every day. You should, every day should make you work towards your goal. You have to wake up and be, okay, this is what I want to achieve today.
Yeah, but I do agree that we should all take just do a balanced check of your life every year. See where you're going, what you want to do, how you want to live. That's very important.
Yeah,
that's very important. Wow, ladies.
And another thing, Bobola, sorry, I know you.
No, go ahead. No.
The other couple as well. I know we were fixated about one couple, but I think the other couple, there were loads of issues with them as well. And I think
of course.
One thing in particular that I wanted to pick on is about the lady in that. I'm sorry that I'm picking on the ladies, but I have to be realistic. It's about the materialistic mentality of how people are living, especially the young generation. You're already living your tomorrow by the things you're doing today. You want to
the Gucci bag,
the latest bags, the latest wears, and all that. Bearing in mind that Gucci bag you bought today, by tomorrow, Gucci is not going to make another bag, and the one you had would have lost value. So are you telling me now that you still want another bag? And
well, that's the thing. Then it wants a new model when it comes out. It's the same way with our phones. Today you have an iPhone X, and tomorrow you want an iPhone Z.
I personally don't have a problem with you buying a Gucci bag. If you can afford it, you go, girl. You can.
Yeah, if it's your money, not if you're waiting for your boyfriend to buy it for you.
With your money, but you don't rely on somebody else getting it for you. Even if it's going to go out of season, out of fashion, or out of whatever, as long as you're getting it yourself.
Personally, I don't have issues with wearing designers. I don't have issues with that. If you can afford it, fine enough.
If you can afford it,
do it. But the reality, what Sukky said is very important. If you can't afford it, if you're expecting somebody else to do it, to buy it for you, that is very wrong.
That's very wrong.
The second thing also is that when your love is based on material things. So what is the essence? So what if this guy can afford it tomorrow, or two? What if that source of income, you have to be the bread? If the rules change, whereby you have to be the breadwinner tomorrow, something happened and it can't, probably can't work for a few months or few years or whatever. So will you still be able to maintain that high standard of living?
Yes.
Will you still be able to maintain that?
I was saying it from coming from another side that I wanted to ask you guys. So she was saying, my father treated me like a princess. So I expect my man to treat me like a princess. I don't know as to, but I wanted to ask.
If his dad was buying her Gucci. That's the reality. Even if
the dad was buying a Gucci, you can't replace your dad with another man.
Because I was going to ask you, is there a problem in us raising our girls like princesses? Does that mean that they're gonna go into relationship thinking that, you have to treat me like a princess? Of course you have to because this is like a two-edged sword, right? I know that many times we say that we want, if a lady, if a child, a girl is treated properly by a father, she has a higher chance of choosing a good man, because then she's going to use that criteria to choose. But then here we have somebody saying, my dad had my mom and 5 girls, and he treated her like princesses, bought us gifts, so why can't she buy me gifts? That is like the other side of this. She's thinking, treat me like my dad treated me. What's
that's what I'm saying. You can't compare a man that you're in a relationship with your dad. If you want him to treat you like a princess, it's obvious he can treat you like a princess in many other ways that doesn't involve him buying a Gucci
expensive
bag or
gifts,
Birkin bag, whatever for you. He can.
What if that is your love language, though? What if your love language is expensive gifts?
Oh my goodness!
That I don't think that's a love language. I think that is selfishness. Because if your love language is gift, it doesn't matter how much the gift is.
It doesn't matter.
Please, though, my love language is expensive.
Well, good luck to your husband then.
Expensive gifts, please.
And I think another key we have to take from there as parents also is how do our children see, okay, like I was having this conversation with somebody earlier on this week in terms of parenting, where some parenting styles for some parents will be probably transactional. So I will only tell you good things or commend you when you've got good grades in school, you're making me proud as your parent. That's when you're my child. But if you anything otherwise, you're losing things in school, your grades are not good, you're not my child. And that's very typical with African parents at times. Academic excellence is something that we would so much like, literally. If your kids are not, doing well in school, it's as if it's your fault. It's their fault, and it's not making you look good as a parent.
You're not happy about it.
And you're not happy about it. But you have to ask yourself, one of the things you have to ask is, why is this child struggling? Is there anything I'm not doing or I'm not supporting? Or, there was a time I was listening to these parenting seminars where somebody was saying that, I only give my children sweets or chocolates when they've behaved, when they've done something. And I felt like, that is very wrong, because that child will always
grow up with that mentality of you do good, you get something good.
There's a reward system. Of course, you want to reward your children, but you have to be careful, because children will always see that as, okay, like my son will say, "Oh, mom, I've been good today, so when am I going to get my treats?" Then I have to change my system, like, "Oh, no, you don't have treats just because you've done something well. I give you a treat because I think, okay, now today we can have a treat." Because before you know it, kids will always associate treats or gifts with the profession of love. And if
that's true. I was going to say that. I remember growing up, and you do well in school. The way sometimes fathers would say, "I'll buy you this, I'll buy you that," and I used to think that my parents would do that, but they never were. You're just like, why am I even getting these grades? After a while, you realize that you're getting it for yourself.
Yeah.
Forget it. You're not going to get a gift. You're not going to be treated specially just because you got good grades. At that point, I was a little bit angry at them, but later I've realized that it has helped me. Like, I do whatever I do for myself. Not because I'm expecting some kind of reward, some kind of somebody shouting and saying, "Oh, you did this, and I'm going to buy you this." They were trying to teach something else. This thing of not giving treats because a child is doing well. You want them to just be whole, do whatever they're doing for their own sake, not because of a reward.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's important. Well, ladies, I know you can talk. There's so many things to talk about. But it's been nice gisting, chatting. So thank you for coming to talk and gist with me here. There's so many other things that I still want to talk about, but I think we'll keep them for another day. Thank you, Jumoke. Thank you, Sukky.
You're welcome.
Thank you. It was nice chatting with you, ladies.
And thanks for having us as well.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. I am sure you have enjoyed listening to this episode. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Instagram on our handle Intentional Randomness, and feel free to contact us on intentionalrandomnessfeedback@gmail.com. Until next time, be intentional.